Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Biggs, our friends on the other side of the dais, they've questioned the significance of measures focused on new reporting and data collection related to our nation's law enforcement officers. But how can these reports, such as the ones required under the Improving Law Enforcement Officer Safety and Wellness Through Data Act, how can they better inform Congress on future action as it relates to backing up our law enforcement officers and ensuring that they have the resources needed to support their mission?
Thanks for the question. We as federal policymakers dealing with federal law enforcement don't always have adequate information. And they said this may be duplicative. When you consolidate and bring it into one place, you aggregate it, we have a better chance to get a picture. We can adjust policy, we can adjust resources, and we can make sure that our law enforcement gets what they need when they need it.
Thank you very much, Representative Biggs. And regarding the Police Our Borders Act, H.R. 8146, time and again when House Republicans have pursued legislation like this to stiffen penalties on illegal aliens that commit violent crimes, including assault of law enforcement officers, Democrats have denounced those as demonizing immigrants. But if you could walk us through a few points here once more today, how would you describe the vetting process as it currently stands for the millions of illegal immigrants that have been encountered at our southern border who are then released into the interior of the country? Would you say that's been a rigorous vetting, particularly as it relates to our national security questions?
We would call it a screening rather than a vetting. So here's what would happen. I have a collection of IDs that I picked up at the border. When individuals come across the border, it's garbage in, garbage out. They have no real ID. We have no biometrics on the vast majority of people. We'll run an NCIC check to see if they have a U.S. record. And if they haven't ever been here before and there's no record, then we don't have anything. If they're not targeted on an international terrorist watch list or from Interpol, we have no idea who they are. And I've literally watched this where we had 25 individuals who said that they were from, well, I can't remember which one they said first, but let's say Russia. We happened to have, through my office, a translator. And we put them on, and they immediately said, no, we're not from Russia, we're from Ukraine. And here's the deal. We don't have a good vetting process. We're going to fingerprint you, and we hope you pick out a name you like because that's the name you're going to go by because we don't know anything else about you.
Thank you. And I know that through your work representing a district not so far from the southern border that you've seen the crisis firsthand more than most folks here. Are we seeing an influx of just women and children and families coming across our southern border?
No, sir. If you were to talk about the Chinese folks that are coming across, they're almost exclusively males between the ages of 18 and 35. We see that from all over the place. Different sectors, a different sector. There are parts within the Tucson sector you're going to see mostly family units. There are other parts that it is almost exclusively young single males.
Thank you so much. To recap, of the millions of illegals that we know of that have been released into the interior, few have been adequately vetted. Many of those millions are military-age men, as Mr. Biggs just said, from as the Middle East, Africa, China, and that number includes those that are on the FBI's terrorist watch list. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Representative Biggs. I appreciate you taking the time to restate those points here today. We cannot overstate the crisis that has started at our southern border and has made its way to every state and city and town in America. Our law enforcement officers, they're on the front lines of this crisis. And the influx of millions of poorly vetted migrants released into the interior of the country on what is effectively an honor system that they will show up for their next court date. The American people are not convinced by this administration's claims that the true nature of this crisis at our borders, as long as they keep the border effectively open, allowing millions of individuals, including known terrorists, to enter into this country, we need to do everything we can to give our law enforcement officers the support that they need in our communities. So I strongly support the measures before us today, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Thanks, the gentleman. The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Georgia is recognized for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try